The main ideas from the best books in 30 minutes. Today, why they don't work. A new look at employee motivation. Author, Susan Fowler. Let's start with a question people ask almost automatically. Are all employees motivated? Forget that question. Imagine this. You manage a large department. You need to run an unscheduled strategic seminar. Deep down, you know it's more of a formality and a top-down request. The employees sense it too. And the familiar thought shows up. How do you motivate people to come and participate? Many leaders think this way and believe that motivating employees is their core job. But if you stick to that logic, your efforts will often be wasted. Seminar day. Everyone is there. Someone waits with a blank face. Someone chats with a colleague. Someone is buried in a phone. Who is motivated? The answer is simple. Everyone. 100%. The difference is that each person's motivation is different. One person came because they were told to. Fowler calls this automatic motivation. Another expects that a smart comment will add points to their social capital. External motivation. A third came because they fear your disapproval. Imposed motivation. A fourth came because they genuinely believe the seminar will be useful. Aligned motivation. A fifth came because the topic matches their personal interests and needs. Integrated motivation. A sixth came because they expect to enjoy themselves here and now. Flow motivation. So yes, everyone is motivated. But here's the key nuance. Not all motivation is high quality. And the quality of motivation determines how effective people will be after the seminar. In this list, the higher quality motivation is in points 4, 5, and 6. So the question should be changed. Not, are employees motivated, but what is the real reason behind their motivation? The same is true for you. The question is not whether you are motivated to listen to this summary. The question is, what is the reason that makes you do it? Now, the foundation. At the start, our drives are healthy and alive. The desire to explore the world, change, and become better exists in everyone from early childhood. But that desire needs support, first from parents, then teachers, and later from leaders at work. This works only when three basic needs are satisfied. The first is the need to choose between options and to feel control over the choice process. When this need is not met, learned helplessness appears. Nothing depends on me. They will decide everything for me. This is destructive for the psyche. And here Frankl's idea matters. Even in the hardest circumstances, a person still has the last freedom. The freedom to choose their attitude toward what is happening. The second is the need for strong social bonds, for belonging to a shared cause. Loneliness is harmful. With every year, psychologists and doctors become more convinced of that. People with strong social ties have a lower risk of death at any age. And trying to compensate for a lack of connection at work by socializing outside of work is a weak strategy because work takes up a huge part of life. The third is the need to feel skilled and competent. This is not only about professional tasks, but also about soft skills. This is one of the best investments. Resilient, proactive people are more often the source of positive change in the company and in their own lives. These needs are interconnected. You cannot build a strong team if people feel insecure. You cannot develop competence if a person does not understand what they want. And there is a key difference between psychological needs and biological ones. When we are hungry, we are motivated to find food. When hunger is satisfied, that motivation drops. Psychological needs work differently. You do not become less motivated when you are competent, free in your choices, and connected. It works the other way around. This leads us to self-regulation. Let's return to the seminar. Higher quality motivation is typical for those who, first, genuinely believe the seminar will help them. Second, see the topic as connected to their needs. Third, expect interest and enjoyment here and now. What do they have in common? This motivation does not come from external incentives. It comes from within. Motivation is closely linked to self-regulation, the ability to control feelings and thoughts. The best-known example is Walter Mischel's marshmallow experiment. Children were offered a choice. Eat one marshmallow now or wait 15 minutes and get twice as much. Some waited, some didn't. Later, it turned out that those who could wait tended, on average, to achieve more in school, work, and family life. But there is an important addition. The ability to control yourself is connected to how often everyday reality breaks your expectations. If adults keep their promises, a child learns to wait. If not, a bird in the hand feels more reliable. Adults work the same way. A comfortable work environment supports self-regulation. Self-regulation has three supports. The first is mindfulness. It is the ability to live in the present moment without judging emotions and without falling into familiar behavioral scripts. The opposite is bias, when we act from habitual, unchecked beliefs. In that state, it is hard to collaborate well, make rational decisions, and choose what is truly useful. But it is easy to fall for carrot and stick, automatic, external, and imposed motivation. And there is a risk here. Adrenaline, produced in abundance during stress, can be addictive. Becoming a hostage to a bad mood is easy. The second is values. Each person decides what is good and what is bad for them. Each organization has its own sense of what is good and bad too. When an employee's values match the organization's values, carrot and stick becomes less relevant. But not all people, and not all companies, clearly formulate their values, even for themselves. The third is goal setting. The best goals are those that match the values of both the employee and the company, and do not contradict basic psychological needs. Now, the leader's role. Many leaders sense that carrot and stick is not what people truly need. But directly asking employees what motivates you is also a poor approach. Hardly anyone will say, "I can't satisfy my need for control over choice, and that's a basic need, so I'm suffering." Most likely, people will think of external incentives, promotion, higher pay. There is nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that external incentives never fully explain what is happening, and they work only for a short time. Fowler's key point is this: you cannot motivate anyone. But as a leader, you can create an environment where people are more likely to experience optimal motivation. In other words, do not block their basic needs. First, give people the opportunity to choose. Give them a voice in meetings. Ask for advice. Discuss shared values when making decisions. Do not rely on micromanagement. Discuss options even if you already know the best way. Do not push decisions through by status. Remember, social pressure shows up first in the words you use. Avoid categorical statements and closed questions that allow only yes or no, or a fixed set of answers. Even specific, already approved decisions can be presented as valuable information that supports employees' interests. Compare, the project plan must be submitted by March 3rd versus the plan needs to be ready by March 3rd so we can approve it before the shareholders meeting. I created a shared document with what we already have. Add what you think is relevant and mark what you have doubts about. Second, strengthen connections. Listen, don't declare. Explain, don't declare. Name the reasons you require certain results before you require the results themselves. Do not put goals ahead of values, and do not let goals contradict values. Do not deny emotions at work. Feelings are how we understand the world. Work either feels good or it doesn't, and that directly affects engagement. Empathy is what many modern leaders lack. What do your employees complain about? What do they ask for? Do you recognize their needs? And are you ready to consider ways to solve the problem? That is empathy. Start with yourself. What emotions does your work bring up in you? Reflecting on your own feelings is the first step toward being attentive to others' feelings. The more we ignore our inner world, the easier it is to get seduced by external incentives that supposedly should create motivation. Praise is an ambiguous tool here. Its value is often exaggerated. It has been noticed that coaches who actively cheer their students during training sometimes receive less trust and achieve worse results. Why? Praise is also an external incentive, a form of control that people may unconsciously resist. This does not mean praise must be banned, but it is often more effective to express sincere gratitude for support, understanding, and effort. Third, develop employees. The world keeps changing, and work changes with it. Retraining on the fly, intuitively, is a poor solution. Even worse is training people out of the desire to learn. Bosses ask, "What did you do?" Leaders ask, "What did you do, and what did you learn in the process?" Bosses criticize mistakes. Leaders analyze the lessons together with employees. Bosses value perfectionism. Leaders value growth. Bosses wait for the task to be done without caring how prepared people are. A leader is ready to demonstrate the required skills. Not every expert is a good teacher. If explaining is hard for you, watch how others explain. Find training videos on YouTube about something you have long wanted to learn. Follow the instructor's advice, and at the same time notice how they structure the explanation, what the learner must do, and what sequence of actions leads to the result. Then apply that logic when working with employees. And one more difference. It is easier for a boss to do the work for an employee by giving the answer. A leader helps people search for the solution. A leader values other people's experience no less than their own. A leader asks questions that support choice. Could you explain why you think so? Strengthen connection. Will this decision strengthen your relationship within? How is this connected to your values? Support growth. What will this project teach us? Now change. These three principles, choice, connection, competence, support daily work and also help during periods of change. Change is easier for those who feel control over the situation, support from colleagues, and who see what is happening as an opportunity. Such employees become leaders for themselves. The 2020 pandemic became a major change. After lockdowns, thousands of employees did not return to their old jobs. They had time to experience control over their schedule. They unlearned toxic relationships at work and did not want to return to them. Many found time to learn something new, professionally and personally. These are the same basic psychological needs. When we listen to them, it changes almost everything. Even if a person stays in the same job while seeing it as far from perfect, they can switch from external, imposed motivation to internal motivation if they listen to their psychological needs. Fowler notes, a common myth is that people leave bad bosses. In reality, people leave companies that allow a bad boss to exist. A company's actions are the actions of each of its employees. And one more point. Today's 30-year-old employees rarely see their workplace as a choice for life. They can retrain, and they need that opportunity. Do not be afraid that trained employees will immediately leave for a better company. People work where their competence is valued. This changes how we look at the usual elements of work. The workplace. Job responsibilities cannot be rewritten for every new employee, but within those responsibilities, individual experience can be taken into account. After 2020, not all work needs to stay offline. Remote work turned out to be beneficial for both leaders and employees. Open space offices have been in fashion and out of fashion, but the issue is often not physical boundaries, but mental ones. If your employees feel supported and can rely on empathy, the format of the workspace is less important. If your company has a hybrid work environment, it makes sense to define what resources it requires. Also, do your company's long-term goals match employees' level of competence? Which skills need development? To clarify the situation, use SMART goals. Goals. Good goals create good motivation. In SMART, the letter M means measurable, but Fowler suggests adding one more meaning, motivating. There are indicators that spoil goals, in work and in personal life. Money, including money for status. Everyone will envy my salary. The pursuit of positive approval. I need more friends on Facebook *. Appearance. No matter what. Lose weight by summer to be the queen of the beach. Achievements in zero-sum games, where one person's win means another person's loss. Goals built on these indicators are like sugar for the body. They energize only for a short time, and there is no perfect proportion that turns them into healthy motivation. For example, if employees are promised a bonus for the maximum number of new clients, sooner or later they stop thinking about service quality. Does that mean you should not aim for fame, money, or prestige? No, there is nothing wrong with them when they are not the ultimate goal, but part of something bigger. Writing a fairy tale about a boy who survived, just to make $1 billion, is a weak goal. But a well-written fairy tale, created because writing was what you loved most, can bring $1 billion. There are indicators that charge goals with good motivation. The desire to become better in some area, by your own choice. Belonging to a community that provides meaningful support. Unions, mentoring. Improving physical shape, not for the beach, but to care for yourself. Earning or saving money for personal goals without competition. A trip to a dream country, a secure old age. Not all corporate goals bring energy. What is inspiring about preparing a quarterly report? But the problem is not the content of the work. What is boring to one person is interesting to another. Work stops being engaging when it is imposed, does not match the employee's values, and is too hard because the necessary skills are missing. You can always understand whether that is the case by talking to the employee. Feedback. Productive feedback takes all three needs into account. You support control over choice when you invite the employee to ask for your judgment first. Ask permission before giving advice. And if advice is necessary and you do not want to delay, you can warn about your directness. I'll say it as I see it, and you can correct me afterward. You strengthen connection when you avoid personalized subjective judgments like, I'm disappointed in you, or I'll be happy if you do this. This is the same substitution of internal motivation with external evaluation. You support competence when you replace criticism with objective information that allows the employee to draw conclusions on their own. For example, Mary, your report shows that the profit of the new product line decreased over the past month. How do you assess the experiment with the new product? Corporate rewards. Most often, leaders use rewards because they fear that otherwise employees will simply refuse. But if the proposal truly matters to people, explain the reason. Otherwise, substituting meaning with incentives makes the initiative pointless. People love to learn new things and feel more competent because of it. You do not need to bribe them for that. It is enough to address their sincere desire to learn. The same caution applies to gamification. If it distracts from boring routine processes, then the problem is boredom and routine. If it increases engagement and helps employees grow in competence, it can be justified. There are three exceptions where bonuses and perks can support positive motivation. First, extreme circumstances. For example, police offer large rewards for capturing dangerous criminals, which sometimes tempts even the criminal's own associates. Betrayal is condemned, but in that situation, the strategy includes it. Second, you have a truly high-quality offer whose benefit is not obvious right now, so you prepare a bait. For example, training courses will take 1 hour a day. I propose we use work time from 3 to 4 p.m., and it will be paid at the regular rate. Show sincere commitment. The offer is worth it. Third, a material incentive carries a strong non-material meaning. In a supermarket where Fowler buys groceries, customers who bring their own bags receive tokens. At the exit, there is a donation box. You drop tokens there, and the supermarket exchanges them for money and donates to different causes. Here there is choice, involvement in the community, and a sense of competence. And finally, trust. Trust is one of the most fragile parts of communication. It is hard to build and easy to lose. If you do not have the emotional strength to trust a person or a group right now, think about who and when broke that trust. Which psychological needs were hurt? And how is it connected to motivation? Directly, employees who have no right to choose, who do not feel supported by the company, and who do not feel competent will not trust each other or leadership. Give employees what our nature requires, and their trust in you will grow stronger. Trust implies vulnerability. We become vulnerable whenever we open up to others. Normal communication includes vulnerability. You should not fear it, but you should get used to it. Share your doubts sincerely. Offer support sincerely. Then vulnerability can turn into strength. Everything starts with leaders. Do leaders feel that their own psychological needs are satisfied? Any stress at work is a sign that something is wrong with needs. Can leaders allow themselves to be vulnerable? Do they deny their own emotions? At the end, 2 questions Fowler asks corporate leaders. What do you want from your employees? And what do you want for your employees? The first question is answered quickly, the second after a pause. And, surprisingly, the answers do not always match. How would you answer these questions? What do you now think about your company through the lens of our basic psychological needs? What truly motivates your employees? And you? And how is it connected not to quarterly profit and KPIs, but to the feeling of a meaningful life? How can you restore it or keep it? Now you know how. 10 best takeaways. 1. Your employees are already motivated. The question is, by what? 2. External incentives work only short-term and always replace true values. 3. Choice, connection, and competence are the 3 key psychological needs. 4. Work and life are inseparable. Work and emotions are inseparable. Emotions deserve attention. 5. Replace praise with gratitude, and replace criticism with objective information so a person can draw conclusions themselves. 6. Motivation is linked to self-regulation. The more comfortable the environment, the easier self-regulation becomes. 7. The best goals match values and do not contradict basic psychological needs. 8. Not only what can be measured matters. 9. Listen and explain, don't declare. Avoid categorical language and close questions. 10. Bosses ask, "What did you do?" Leaders ask, "What did you do? And what did you learn?" A boss finds it easier to give the answer. A leader helps people find the solution. If you want to go deeper, look at the summaries of these books. Martin Seligman, How to Learn Optimism. Change your view of the world and your life. Viktor Frankl, Say Yes to Life. A psychologist in a concentration camp. Robert Waldinger and Mark Schultz, The Good Life. Lessons from the longest scientific study of happiness. Loretta Brenning, The Hormones of Happiness. How to train your brain to produce serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin. Bernard Ferrari, The Ability to Listen, a Key Skill for a Manager. S. J. Scott, Smart Goals. 10 Simple Steps to Your Goals in Career and Personal Life. And Breen Brown, Lead. Powerful Actions, Tough Conversations, Open Hearts. Facebook belongs to Meta, whose activities are recognized as extremist and banned in Russia. If you like this, please hit like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future books, and write in the comments which book you want us to cover next.